And finally, for scenario 3, a research program is being taken place at Sussex Farm College for results to provide on people aged 16 to 18 regarding anaerobic exercise performance rates. This research has been carried out by researchers who recently gained their first ethical clearance for research. Within the consent form provided, there is no disclaimer produced to the participants. The participants were required to take part in 3 anaerobic fitness tests, such as the 35-metre sprint test, yo-yo test, and Wingate test. Before the participants could start the last test, Wingate, one of them started to display strong signs of fatigue and indicates pain in the legs. The researcher then terminates the test to prevent possible injury developing. Because of this, the researcher then plagiarizes results from another piece of research to compensate for the lack of during this scenario 3. So, in terms of evaluation for scenario 3, we start off with the test sequence. The test sequence of the study relates to the order of the tests which are carried out during a scenario. More specifically, the sequence or order of the test that a participant must endure must allow for enough unsafe intensity and recovery periods. For instance, if in a particular scenario, the researcher scheduled a number of fitness tests for the participant to carry out, like a 35-metre sprint test, 1-minute press-up test, or the yo-yo test, they may be ordered in a way which doesn't injure or cause an extreme level of fatigue for the participant. Therefore, complete the 1-minute press-up test in between the 35-metre sprint and the yo-yo test would allow for the leg muscle groups, like the hamstring and quadricep muscles, to recover whilst the upper body is being exercised. Whereas, if during a study the participant was made to complete the fitness test in a row, which both work the same muscle groups, like in scenario 3, then the participant may not be able to fully complete the second test to their best ability. This could also be caused by not allowing a form of rest between testing to ensure enough recovery periods, which may give the participants DOMS as a form of injury. However, therefore, acting as a form of bad practice for the researcher, as they have not conducted a sufficient test sequence, and is possibly the sole reason for the fact that their test had to be terminated, which affected their results and possibly caused an injury to the participant. However, one of the most important aspects of the test sequence part of a researcher's role is ensuring familiarization. Familiarization is the process of the test of the researcher ensure that the participant is familiarized with everything regarding the content of the test which they will undertake. For instance, for the 45-minute sprint test, it is essential that the researcher ensures that the participant is aware of the correct coaching points to safely start and finish the run to their best ability. Therefore, the safety is ensured and the results can become more accurate with an efficient participant. Following from this, we've got subject disclaimer. So the subject disclaimer refers to a certain section of the informed consent form given to the participant prior to the research, which acts as a form of protection for the researcher. The subject disclaimer acts as a statement which states that if the participant has held any information back from the researcher regarding their ability to complete the test, then any possible injuries or issues that result from the study are at their own risk. For instance, if a participant really wants to take part in a fitness test, like the yo-yo test because their friends were also taking part, and if everything was in place prior to the study, informed consent, disclaimer, etc., then it would be clear to take part. However, if during the health screening questionnaire the information regarding to prevent the injury that they had wasn't indicated to the researcher, and the participant still went ahead with the test, then the injury could progress even further. Therefore, the subject disclaimer is put in place to ensure that the participant can't then go and make a claim against the researcher and the research behind organisation being carried out due to this injury progressing, as they would already sign the subject disclaimer, consequently protecting the researcher and the organisation which they represent. However, if the researcher was made aware of them to take part of this information regarding the fitness levels of the participant, then the researcher couldn't allow them to take part. This is because in this scenario, they wouldn't be protected against the ability towards the participant injury progressing to a more significant degree, therefore causing the researcher to refer the participant to a local GP on advice regarding whether or not they should be taking part with their current injury status. Whereas, in scenario 3, the fact that the subject disclaimer wasn't included within the informed consent form means that the researcher would be liable for any progressive seriousness of this injury. This is due to the fact that they didn't offer themselves the chance of knowing the knowledge that the participant needed to be referred to the local GP. Additionally, we have the ethical clearance, which is granted by the Institutional Ethical Review Committee. So prior to every research that takes place, the researcher must be granted ethical clearance. This firstly consists of practitioners must follow a strict code of the conduct, including an informed consent form, protocols, and safety for everyone involved. Following on from this is an application that needs to be made in an independent specialist panel, which could be, for instance, a colleague, tutors, or school authority. Additionally, there must be an analysis of the risk versus the benefits for humankind. For instance, in order to receive ethical clearance for research, the benefits towards humankind need to be greater than the risk or harm to anyone involved. This could be due to a test like the hydrogen strontium bath, which may be discomforting. However, it does provide some accurate data regarding body fat percentage if done efficiently. Finally, there must also be protection for any volunteer, the researcher themselves, and the organisation behind them. If any of these aren't fulfilled when making an application for the ethical clearance, then it's highly unlikely that it will be granted. However, in scenario 3, the researcher would have previously ensured that all aspects regarding the application made for ethical clearance are completed. This is then backed up by the fact that they are recently received ethical clearance for the research, consequently acting as a piece of good practice for the researcher, as they are ethically clear to perform the study. Whereas in terms of the application, there are many more specific details that need to be included. Firstly, the basis study needs to be included in the application in order for the ethics committee to develop an understanding of where the research will take place and whether or not it's a safe environment for everyone involved. Secondly, evidence needs to be provided relating to the researcher's educational background or achievements in the particular area of study to ensure that they have an experienced understanding of how to conduct the research safely and appropriately. Following on from this, there needs to be a title and purpose of the study, along with a description of the methodology and participants being included. Also, the application requires an explanation into how the researcher will explain the procedures to the participant and what risks they are, with how consent will be gained for the study, how the participant will be able to withdraw easily and safely at any time during the research will also need to be explained to fit the guidelines of having a consent of a constant right to withdraw, with no reason being disclosed to the researcher. And finally, how will the participant remain in a steady mindset throughout the scenario, which could be done by positive feedback from the researcher, like motivational phrases. Also, we have the risk-benefit analysis. So the risk-benefit analysis is the process of the research being taken in place to have a greater risk than to have lesser risks than the benefits. This aspect of ethical approval means a benefit that the research provides to the researcher or society must be greater than the potential risk that the research may cause. However, this aspect requires the individuals behind the research to produce an analysis on whether or not this is the case. For example, during scenario 3, it could be argued that this analysis wasn't carried out to a high enough standard. We could see this when there was a high chance of participants possibly being seriously injured from the high levels of fatigue they're experiencing, perhaps caused by the poor sequencing of the test. Therefore, in this case, the risk of serious injury far outweighs the results gained from the test due to the severe consequences the injuries could have caused. Therefore, acting as a bad piece of practice for the researcher in this scenario, as it hasn't been carried out to a sufficient degree, consequently, possibly causing the consequence of physical harm to the participant if they would have underwent the Wingate test. Following on from this, due to the huge level of significance of the risk-benefit analysis process on research after the events of 1947, the researcher may be refused the right to work within research again, or perhaps be issued to another consequence of supervision. This way, in future studies, the amount of freedom that they can have with the research is highly reduced. Consequently, as they will have a supervisor watching over them, consequently causing them to be able to produce less creative research due to the restrictions on them. However, the researcher must carry out, or they will ensure the risk of not being granted ethical clearance. As a correction to this poor piece of practice, I would recommend the researcher conducts a detailed and thorough analysis prior to the study, therefore ensuring the risk of the research is significantly lower than the perceived benefits the researcher will provide. This will consist of perhaps conducting a practice test where the researcher themselves does the test involved in the study, in order for them to imagine how hard it would be for an individual to complete all the aerobic fitness tests effectively. Consequently, they realise that their test needed to be altered, particularly study in its sequence and in turn prevent the chance of an injury occurring within the study or perhaps more complex issues. Next we have scientific misconduct. So another aspect of the research section for the code of conduct is scientific misconduct. Scientific misconduct is according to RENHS.gov is the fabrication, falsification or plagiarization in proposing, performing or reviewing research or in reporting research results. And it is essential that this doesn't occur in research. This is to ensure that all data produced from the research is legitimate, to prevent possible subjects being influenced on this data and perhaps being conducted unsafely, for example, or unethically. For example, it's not very free that scientific misconduct acts as another piece of poor practice, due to the fact that they plagiarised data from another study, therefore violating this section of the conduct and could possibly result in consequences such as ethical clearance being removed. However, more specifically, plagiarization aspect of the scientific misconduct refers to the research presenting phrases and words of another individual without references and is presented as their own. Although no property of an individual has been stolen here, this is regarded as theft of intellectual property and must be completely avoided in research. Whereas, as long as the research uses methods such as paraphrasing quotations and ideas, often linking back to the original researcher who's produced the data, the research can be regarded as valid. However, due to the researcher in scenario 3 not ensuring this, they would be liable to the possible claims made by any individual who could recognise the fact that the fabrication of this information. This could be consequences such as formal reprimand or possibly due to the legal connotations of the aspects of research. In research, the law may be involved, which cause things such as fines or prison sentences. Therefore, as a correction to the fact that the researcher didn't do this, I would say that they wouldn't use other pieces of data in perhaps a panic state due to the fact they didn't have data. Therefore, I would wait until the test could be possibly reconducted to avoid the poor practice which was caused due to the test sequences. Also, this could allow for other corrections to be carried out, like the detailed analysis of the risk and benefits. And finally, the Institutional Ethics and Review Committee acts as a fundamental aspect for research. This is because it provides the assurance that all ethics are carried out to the maximum efficiency to allow ethically strong research to be conducted. However, during scenario 3, as a consequence, the Ethics and Review Committee may have to be involved due to the ethics such as risk-benefit analysis being conducted to a broad degree, therefore potentially ensuring that the ethical clearance is removed. Additionally, for the correction of including a subject disclaimer, I've made one for this scenario. This just states that just everything that so that any issues that the test produce or